So here's the thing. You ever sit down to watch a show, right, and it's building, and building, and building, and in your gut you just know something amazing is about to happen? You feel it like a spark. You've been waiting for it, maybe even predicting it in your head. And then the finale comes, you're watching with your expectations sky high, your heart racing, and then, nothing. That's exactly what happened to me with the Gilded Age Season 3. And listen, I love this season. It was bold, it was sharp, it was everything I wanted except for one thing. The one thing I couldn't stop hoping for. A crossover with Downton Abbey. And when that didn't happen, man, I can't even lie to you, I was disappointed. Not angry, not bitter, just that deep sigh type of letdown, the kind that makes you stare at the credits rolling and whisper to yourself, that's it? That's all we get? And maybe you felt it too. Maybe you're sitting there like me, thinking, come on, they handed us the setup on a silver platter and just didn't touch it. Because let's be real, HBO didn't bring Gillian Fellows on board just to create another show. They wanted the American Downton Abbey. They wanted that same magic, that same luxurious high-drama environment, but from a whole new angle. And don't get me wrong, the Gilded Age didn't just copy Downton. It became its own thing, with its own characters and its own raw bite. But still, ever since Season 1, ever since the first big splashy ball scene where old money and new money squared up like two armies meeting across the battlefield, I think so many of us have been quietly waiting for them to take the final step. To say out loud, yeah, these two worlds are connected. So when Season 3 rolled out and every week the audience numbers kept going up and up, proving the show isn't just working but thriving, I thought this is it. This is where they're gonna do it. They were setting up the chessboard so perfectly. Gladys Russell marrying the Duke of Buckingham? Come on. That's not just a storyline, that is basically a giant neon sign saying England connection established. You don't just hand us a story about an American heiress being sent over to the British aristocracy and not think every single Downton Abbey fan won't immediately start calling for Robert Crawley's name, or Cora Levinson's, or even just one tiny, subtle nod that ties these two worlds together. But it never came. And the silence on that front? That's the disappointment. Now, let me slow it down and break it down for anyone watching who maybe isn't super deep into either the Gilded Age or Downton Abbey lore. Think of it like this, you've got two families living in different times, different countries, different social settings, but they're built by the same creator, Gillian Fellows. The Gilded Age is America in the 1880s. Downton Abbey is England in the early 1900s. About 30 years separate them. But the themes? The struggles? Honestly, they're cousins of each other. Both stories are about power, about class tension, about tradition smashing up against change. And in both, the women of these families are the secret backbone, the ones making moves while the men pretend to hold the reins. So when Gladys Russell moves into that marriage with the Duke, it lines up almost identically with the backstory of Cora Levinson marrying Robert Crawley, which we already know is one of the foundational pieces of Downton Abbey. The echoes are too loud to ignore. And it's not just about fan service, though of course I'd eat that up. It's about narrative opportunity. Think about it, you give us a crossover, even just a brief one, and suddenly both stories feel bigger. Suddenly, the Gilded Age isn't just a show about 1880s New York. Suddenly it's part of a universe. It's history with depth, with continuity. That's the stuff that makes shows timeless, that makes fans feel like they're part of something epic. It's also the stuff that gives you goosebumps, the wait, are they really doing this? Moments, the kind of TV magic we end up talking about for years. But instead, Gillian Fellows stuck to his line. He said before, the timelines are too far apart. He didn't want to distract from the Gilded Age becoming its own thing. And okay, I understand that from a creative perspective. No one wants to live in the shadow of a previous success. No one wants their new show constantly being compared to their old one. But let's be honest, the Gilded Age has already proven itself. It has its own legs, its own momentum. It doesn't need Downton to carry it. But bringing them together, even in a subtle way? That would have made the audience lose their minds. It would have been the best of both worlds, doubling the power without taking anything away. And here's what stings, the opportunities for crossover were practically everywhere this season. Let me lay them out. Number 1, Gladys becoming Duchess of Buckingham. That alone opens the door to an entire country house full of possible connections. Downton is literally about country houses. The Crawleys, the Granthams, they're right there in that exact world. Even if you said the names of a few English families and slipped in one familiar surname? Instant crossover shivers down the spine. Number 2, England as a backdrop. So many dinners at Sidmouth Castle. So many shooting weekends. And not a single guest remotely tied to Downton lore? That's like having a stage set, the costumes fitted, the cameras rolling, and then refusing to use your lead actors. Number 3, the character parallels. Cora Levinson's backstory is practically mirrored by Gladys's story. Cora was an American heiress marrying into nobility to secure the Crawleys' future. Gladys did the same thing with the Buckinghams. It's like two puzzle pieces designed to lock together, and fellows just left them on the table, edges touching, but never clicked them. And that's when, for me, the disappointment transformed from a quiet wish into a full body ache. Because this wasn't just a what-if. This was a moment. A golden, possibly once-in-a-lifetime chance to create something bigger than both shows. And he passed on it. Now, before I sink too deep into the frustration, let me say this clearly, Season 3 of The Gilded Age was still brilliant TV. Bertha Russell was at her peak, clawing her way into places where she was told she didn't belong, bending the world around her like it was Play-Doh in her hands. George Russell finally breaking and leaving because he couldn't stomach what Bertha did to their daughter? That was devastating, powerful drama. HBO is right to call this their best season yet. But that's almost what makes it worse. Because if you're flying this high already, why not go all the way? Why not make history by weaving your two universes into one? And listen, I get it. Recasting is tricky. You'd have to think about younger versions of iconic characters like Lady Violet, or Robert Crawley, or Cora herself. And recasting beloved faces always rattles people. Plus, Downton still has its own thing going, with that supposed final movie coming up soon. So I can imagine the hesitation. But fear of fan backlash shouldn't outweigh the magic of fan joy. Because yeah, some people would complain. But a lot of us, we'd explode with happiness. The payoff would be worth it. Let's get real for a second. Imagine the scene. Picture Gladys sitting at a long oak table in Sidmouth Castle. The camera pans to her new husband, the Duke of Buckingham. The conversation drifts to acquaintances in Yorkshire. And then someone casually says, "Oh yes, the Crawleys sent their regards." That's it. That's all it would take. Just a single line, a mention of a family name, and the fandom would light up like wildfire. Social media would go insane. Clips would go viral overnight. Articles everywhere. It would be free marketing, bigger than any ad HBO could buy. And maybe you're nodding with me right now, maybe shouting, "Yes. Exactly." Or maybe you're sitting there thinking, "Nah, it's better separate." And that's okay, too. That's why I'm talking to you about this, because I know our community is split. But that's the beauty of it, we get to sit here together, feeling all these hopes and frustrations and dreams about where this story could go. That's fandom. That's us making noise, letting them know what we see, what we feel, what we want. And you know what? I'm not giving up hope. Because Season 4 is coming. And if Season 3 was the season where the foundation got set, Season 4 could be the season where the walls go up and the windows open. The Crawleys are right there, timeline-wise. Robert Crawley as a young man? Cora Levinson's family in New York, perfectly positioned within the Gilded Age's playground? Tell me that's not begging for a crossover. So here's how I see it. 3 scenarios, plain and simple. 1. The Crawleys show up in England. Either Gladys and Hector visit them, or the Crawleys visit Sidmouth Castle. Easy, direct, clear. 2. We meet the Levinsons in New York. Cora's mother Martha, hilarious, blunt, made of pure energy. Maybe her brother Harold. They already live in that world. All Fellows has to do is slide them into the story, and boom, we've got the crossover, but on American soil. 3. The simplest of all, a reference. A name. Just a seed. You don't even need the characters yet. Just put their family into the vocabulary of the show. It's enough to carry the weight and spark what fans crave. That's the thing about TV, about long-form storytelling. Sometimes it isn't the giant, sweeping moments that get us. It's the details. The little threads that connect universes, the small glances that feel bigger than a whole monologue. Fans remember that stuff forever. And if Season 4 doesn't give us that? If we get another season packed with great drama and great acting but no crossover? I'll still watch. I'll still love it. But that ache will stay. That sense of we almost had it. We were right there. Which brings me to this moment, right here, with you. Because I know I'm not alone in this. I've seen the comments, I've read the fan threads. We all feel it. So let's make some noise about it. Let's keep this conversation alive so that maybe, just maybe, powers that be hear us. If you're watching this video and you're like me, if you felt that sting of disappointment and you want the Gilded Age and Downton to finally cross paths, then do me a favor. Drop a comment. Tell me your dream crossover moment. Would you want to see Bertha Russell squaring off against a younger Lady Violet? Or Gladys becoming best friends with a Levinson cousin? Let's talk about it. And don't forget to hit like, hit that subscribe button, because the more of us there are, the louder this voice gets, and the harder it is for Julian fellows to ignore. Because this isn't just about two shows anymore. It's about us, the audience, who care so deeply that we're mapping timelines, comparing characters, and dreaming of the bigger story waiting just outside the frame. It's about wanting more, not in a greedy way, but in a let's make history way. And maybe, just maybe, if we push hard enough, when the credits roll on the Gilded Age Season 4, we won't be sitting here sighing in disappointment. We'll be sitting here, jaws on the floor, eyes wide, whispering, "They did it. They actually did it." And if that day comes, man, it'll be worth every second of waiting. So here's to hoping. Here's to believing. And here's to us, because this community is the real crossover.